Hey, what's up, Faithbox? Good morning to you guys. We're jumping in today with day 12 on family. So if you've got your devotional with you, go ahead and grab that, and I'll begin reading with today's scripture, which comes from Psalm 139, verses 7 through 10. Here's what it says. Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. Here's what they write. We have a friend, the Chapman family. We have some friends who adopted their son from China when he was just 5 years old. When they began to teach him about who God is, they kept it very simple. And then there's kind of 4 bullet points. God is big. God made the whole world. God knows your name. God was with you before you came home. And God is with you now, and he is with you, with all of your friends and caregivers in China. These simple truths were very meaningful to him as he began to learn about God, but also as he began to make sense of his own story. Psalm 139 became his favorite passage of scripture, and for a long time, they read it every night as they focused on the truths about God. It brought comfort to their son's heart to know that God was with him even in the scariest and loneliest times of this past. As it often goes, the things we teach our children are also being taught to us in our own hearts. In difficult seasons of life, when we are feeling inadequate in our callings as parents or employees or students or spouses, it is good to reflect on these same simple truths. It is good for us to remember who God is and to be reminded that the God who made the whole universe and also knows my name and is always with me, he is present, and not only does he help us make sense of our past, but also to give us a hope for our future, urging us and calling us to ask him for wisdom, trusting that he is faithful to tenderly guide and lead us all of our days. Now, I think we have a lot of families and a lot of moms and parents that tune into this. I myself am a dad. I have a 7-year-old daughter. I'll kind of insert a picture here so you can see her because she's beautiful, stunning little girl. And as one of the reason I bring her up is because they talk about, teaching simple truths about God to a 5-year-old, but then also how that pertains to us as parents. And, I couldn't agree with that more because in my own life, the things that I'm learning about fathering and being a dad and how to parent my daughter, Gia, it helps me see the grace and the compassion and the love that God has for me as his son. And the things that I'm trying to instruct her about are the things that often God is using to get a hold of my heart and my spirit. And I just love their practical kind of useful tip here. I don't know if they wrote it with this intent, but honestly, like as a dad, I take those kind of 4 bullet points. I'm like, oh, I can do that. God is big, God is with you, God sees where you're at, he's with all your caregivers back. Like I could use that same thing in my own parenting to teach my own daughter, about who Jesus is, about who God is. Because sometimes it's hard, she is getting to this phase where she asks a lot of questions, and they're great questions, but sometimes I get kind of like, well, how do I explain this to a 7-year-old, in a way that they can comprehend it without, diminishing the truth, or in a way that's still true to who God is, because, it's just sometimes difficult. But yeah, I don't know how this devotional spoke to you today. For me, when I think about it, I just think about my own parenting. And I think about the things that I can do to simplify the truths about who God is, and how I can lead my family better in that area. But then also I think about, what God is trying to do in my own life and how God is trying to use my family situation to speak into me about who he is and what he's doing. And so my hope for you today on this wonderful Monday morning is that you would do the same thing, that you would take today's devotional, that you would take today's scripture, and it would just remind you of the simple truths about who God is. And that with your family, you could do the same thing. You could teach them, you could instruct them, you could encourage them, and you can support them in that way. So hope that helps. Hope you guys have a great start to your week, and I'll be back with you guys tomorrow. So have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.